The Earth shuddered under the weight of its greatest crisis. The year was 2250, and humanity stood on the brink of annihilation. Towering alien ships darkened the skies as the Torvalis, a cold and calculating species, harvested Earth's resources with brutal efficiency. Entire cities had been leveled, their populations displaced or destroyed. Hope flickered like a dying ember, barely sustained by humanity's fierce determination to resist. The emergency broadcasts crackled with urgency as evacuation orders flooded every channel. Millions streamed toward hastily constructed shelters or fled toward the planet's few remaining safe zones. Amid the chaos, whispers spread of a project unlike any humanity had ever dared to attempt, an initiative that could turn the tide of an otherwise hopeless war. In an underground bunker beneath what was once the bustling metropolis of Geneva, the brightest minds of Earth worked feverishly on Project Starforge. Dr. Eliza Kane, the project's lead engineer, paced through the dimly lit control room. Her eyes were bloodshot, her expression grim but unwavering. At 50, she had seen humanity's struggles firsthand, losing her family in the early days of the Torvalis invasion. She carried that pain like a weapon, channeling it into the ambitious endeavor that could mean humanity's survival. The Erebus, Earth's first Star Destroyer. "Every second counts," Kane muttered, her voice cutting through the tense silence. Around her, a team of scientists and engineers toiled over alien blueprints and prototype systems. The Erebus wasn't just a ship. It was humanity's greatest gamble, a fusion of salvaged Torvalis technology and human ingenuity. The hull was forged from reinforced alloys scavenged from battlefields, its weaponry reverse-engineered from alien plasma cannons. Despite their limited understanding of the technology, the team pressed forward, driven by desperation and an unyielding will to fight. The bunker trembled as distant impacts from orbital strikes rattled the Earth. Kane steadied herself against a console, her gaze fixed on the holographic display of the Erebus. It was still incomplete, its skeletal frame hanging in Earth's orbit like a defiant beacon. But time was running out. The Torvalis had begun to notice the unusual energy spikes emanating from the construction site, and it was only a matter of time before they launched a full-scale assault. Dr. Kane, a young technician, called out, his voice tinged with both fear and determination. "The shield generators are still unstable. If we activate them prematurely, they'll collapse." Kane finished, her voice firm. "I know, but we won't get another chance. We either make this work, or we die trying." Across the room, an older scientist hesitated, his voice heavy with doubt. "Eliza, even if we finish the Erebus, what chance do we have against their fleet? Their technology is centuries ahead of ours." Kane turned to face him, her jaw set. "We may not win, but we'll show them what happens when humanity fights back. And if we fall, we'll make sure they remember us." Her words cut through the room like a blade, galvanizing the team. This was humanity's defining moment, a battle not just for survival, but for the right to exist. It wasn't just about the Erebus. It was about proving that humanity's spirit could not be extinguished, no matter how overwhelming the odds. As the hours ticked by, the team worked with relentless focus. Every breakthrough was celebrated with fleeting relief. Every setback met with grim resolve. Messages of support poured in from across the globe. Civilians donating what little resources they had, soldiers sacrificing their lives to hold the line, and engineers from every nation offering their expertise. It was a testament to humanity's ability to unite under a common cause, a flame of hope ignited in the darkest of times. In the shadows of desperation, humanity's greatest strength emerged, the capacity to adapt, innovate, and endure. And as the Erebus edged closer to completion, it carried the weight of humanity's collective will to defy extinction. The Erebus hung in low Earth orbit, its skeletal frame bathed in the cold light of distant stars. The shipyard buzzed with activity as thousands of engineers worked tirelessly, racing against time. Every bolt, circuit, and panel represented humanity's determination to survive. The project was nearing its final stages, but the sense of urgency weighed heavily on everyone. Earth's orbital defenses, a patchwork of retrofitted satellites and outdated military stations, were struggling to hold off sporadic Torvalis incursions. Power surge detected on Platform 7. The warning crackled through the command channel as a distant explosion lit up the horizon. Another defense platform had fallen. The Torvalis were testing Earth's defenses, probing for weaknesses, and they were finding plenty. Eliza Kane stood at the edge of the command deck, her hands gripping the railing. She stared at the holographic display of the battlefield, her expression unreadable but her mind racing. "Divert all auxiliary power to the remaining platforms," she ordered, her voice steady. "We need to buy more time." Time. It was the one resource more precious than the rare metals mined to build the Erebus. With every skirmish, the Torvalis pushed closer to discovering the shipyard's location. A full-scale assault was inevitable, and when it came, Earth's patched-together defenses would crumble within hours. The stakes couldn't be higher, and everyone on the project knew it. Despite the mounting pressure, progress on the Erebus continued. The weapon systems were nearing completion. Experimental plasma cannons capable of rivaling the firepower of Torvalis ships. Shield generators salvaged from alien wreckage were painstakingly calibrated to hold against the crushing force of the enemy's attacks. Every component was a miracle of human ingenuity, a testament to humanity's ability to innovate under fire. "Dr. Kane, propulsion systems are online," a voice reported. Kane allowed herself a brief moment of relief, but it was short-lived. The shield diagnostics still showed instability, and the hull's structural integrity was below projected parameters. "Not good enough," Kane muttered to herself. "We need this ship at 100%. As if on cue, an alert blared across the room. "Incoming Torvalis scout fleet detected," a technician announced, his voice tight with fear. The holographic display lit up with data. 6 enemy vessels, small but fast, heading directly for the shipyard. Kane's heart raced, but she didn't hesitate. "Scramble all defensive units. We can't let them find the Erebus." The battle that followed was brutal. Earth's orbital forces engaged the scouts with everything they had, but the Torvalis ships were relentless. Kane watched in grim silence as one of their few remaining defense platforms was obliterated. "Shields are failing on Platform 9, another voice shouted. "We can't lose another station," Kane said, her mind racing. "Reroute power from the construction grid. Shut down all non-essential systems. But that'll delay the Erebus completion." "Do it," Kane snapped. "If we lose the shipyard, the delay won't matter." The command was executed, and the tide of the battle shifted. The additional power allowed the remaining platforms to destroy the scout fleet, but the cost was steep. Vital systems on the Erebus were shut down, and critical work was halted. Kane gritted her teeth, knowing that the loss of time could prove catastrophic. As the debris of the destroyed scouts drifted into the void, a tense silence filled the control room. The immediate threat had been neutralized, but everyone knew it was only a matter of time before the Torvalis launched a larger assault. Kane turned to her team, her voice firm despite the exhaustion etched into her features. "This was just the beginning. The next wave will be worse. We need to double our efforts. The Erebus must be ready." The room erupted into motion once more. Engineers scrambled to repair the systems that had been shut down, while others worked to reinforce the ship's defenses. Kane moved from station to station, offering guidance and encouragement. She knew the weight of the task ahead, but she also knew what was at stake. Humanity had come too far to falter now. The Erebus was more than a weapon. It was a symbol of defiance, a declaration that humanity would not go quietly into the void. And as Kane looked out at the battered remains of Earth's defenses, she made a silent vow. No matter the cost, they would see this fight through to the end. The Erebus floated silently in orbit, a colossal shadow against the backdrop of stars. Final checks were underway, but the air in the command center was tense. It wasn't ready, not fully. Some systems were untested, and others had been rushed to completion in the chaos of the last assault. Yet there was no more time. Sensors picked up a massive Torvalis fleet entering the system, their arrival heralded by an eerie distortion in space. The countdown to Earth's reckoning had begun. Eliza Kane stood at the center of the bridge, her eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the enemy fleet. Hundreds of ships, more than anyone had anticipated. She felt the weight of every decision she'd made, every corner they'd cut to get the Erebus operational. Now, it all rested on this moment. The ship wasn't perfect, but it was the best humanity could muster. All systems report ready, the operations officer said, his voice steady despite the enormity of the task ahead. Kane nodded. Power up the main drive. Bring the weapon systems online. The ship shuddered as its engines roared to life. Lights flickered across its surface as shield generators and plasma cannons activated, casting a faint blue glow. It was a sight no human had ever witnessed before, a vessel built not for exploration but for war, carrying the hopes of an entire species. The first Torvalis ships broke through Earth's orbital defenses with terrifying speed. Explosions erupted across the sky as satellites and stations were obliterated in their path. Kane's heart sank as the defense grid fell apart, but she forced herself to focus. Engage the fleet, she commanded. The Erebus surged forward, its massive frame cutting through the darkness. Alien ships pivoted to intercept, their sleek designs bristling with weapons. Kane gripped the edge of her console as the first volley struck the ship's shields. The impact reverberated through the hull, but the shields held barely. Return fire! The ship's plasma cannons roared to life, spewing bolts of energy that tore through the enemy ranks. Alien vessels exploded in bursts of light, their remains scattering into the void. Cheers erupted from the crew, but Kane remained stone-faced. This was only the beginning. Torvalis capital ship approaching, the tactical officer warned. The holographic display zoomed in on the massive vessel, a behemoth dwarfing the Erebus in size and firepower. Kane's mind raced. They couldn't engage it head-on. The ship's shields wouldn't hold. She scanned the tactical map, searching for an advantage. Then, an idea struck her. Adjust course. Led them toward the moon's gravity well, she ordered. The crew hesitated, but quickly executed the command. The Erebus veered toward the moon, its engines straining under the maneuver. The Torvalis capital ship followed, firing relentlessly. Every hit against the shields brought fresh alarms, but Kane ignored them. Divert all power to forward shields, she said. We'll use the moon's gravity to slingshot behind them. The tension on the bridge was palpable as the ship accelerated, skimming dangerously close to the lunar surface. The maneuver worked. The Torvalis ship struggled to adjust its trajectory, leaving its flank exposed. Fire everything we have, Kane shouted. The Erebus unleashed its full arsenal, plasma bolts ripping into the enemy vessel's hull. A massive explosion followed, the shockwave rippling across space. The crew erupted in cheers, but Kane held up a hand. Stay focused. This fight isn't over yet. More Torvalis ships swarmed toward them, but the destruction of the capital ship had bought Earth's defenses precious time. Coordinating with ground-based weaponry and the remnants of the orbital grid, the Erebus pushed back against the invasion. Kane's voice rang out across the bridge. They wanted to break us. Let's show them what humanity is made of. With every maneuver, every calculated strike, the Erebus proved what humanity could achieve when pushed to the brink. It wasn't just a battle. It was a declaration. No matter the odds, humanity would not surrender. The fight raged on, and the Erebus stood tall, a defiant titan in the face of extinction. The battlefield was a graveyard of fire and wreckage, the remains of destroyed ships drifting lifelessly through the void. The Erebus stood at the center of it all, battered but unbroken. Every inch of its hull bore the scars of the relentless assault, yet its engines still roared, its cannons still fired. The crew worked with unwavering focus, their exhaustion eclipsed by sheer determination. Eliza Kane's voice cut through the tension on the bridge. Status report. Shields at 20%, replied the tactical officer. Main plasma cannon offline. Hull breaches in multiple sectors, but all critical systems are operational. Kane nodded sharply. Good. Keep firing. They're faltering. She was right. The Torvalis fleet, so confident in their technological superiority, had begun to retreat. The destruction of their capital ship had sown chaos in their ranks. Smaller vessels fled in disarray, their commanders unwilling to face the fury of the Erebus. But one ship remained, a dreadnought, larger than anything Earth's defenders had encountered. It loomed in the distance, a monstrous silhouette against the stars, its weapons charging for a final, decisive strike. The bridge fell silent as the dreadnought unleashed a torrent of energy beams. The Erebus shuddered violently, alarms blaring as the shields buckled. Kane gripped the edge of her console, her voice cutting through the chaos. Divert all remaining power to the forward shields. Hold the line. The crew obeyed without hesitation. The shields flared, absorbing the brunt of the attack, but the strain was too much. With a deafening crack, the shield generators overloaded, leaving the Erebus vulnerable. Kane's mind raced. They were out of time, out of options. She glanced at the tactical display, her eyes narrowing as she spotted the one weakness in the dreadnought's formation. A plan formed in an instant, a desperate gambit, but their only chance. Helm, set a collision course for the dreadnought, she commanded. The room fell silent. The helm officer hesitated. Dr. Kane, if we do it, she snapped, and arm the remaining warheads. We'll detonate at point-blank range. The crew moved swiftly, their hesitation replaced by grim resolve. The Erebus surged forward, its engines pushing beyond safe limits. Torvalis ships scrambled to intercept, but Earth's remaining defenses opened fire, giving the Erebus the opening it needed. As the ship closed the distance, Kane activated the intercom, her voice calm but resolute. To everyone aboard the Erebus, this is our moment. Humanity's survival depends on us. Whatever happens, know that you've made history. You've shown the galaxy what it means to fight for something greater than yourself. Brace for impact. The Erebus slammed into the dreadnought with unimaginable force. The warheads detonated in a blinding explosion that consumed both vessels. The shockwave rippled through space, scattering the remaining Torvalis ships. On Earth, billions watched in stunned silence as the light faded, revealing the destruction of the dreadnought. The Erebus was gone, but its sacrifice had turned the tide. The Torvalis fleet retreated, their confidence shattered, their losses too great to continue the assault. Humanity had won its first victory against the invaders. In the aftermath, the planet was a mix of celebration and mourning. Earth had survived, but the cost was immeasurable. The names of the Erebus crew were etched into the annals of history, their courage immortalized. Kane's vision had become a reality, proving that even in the face of impossible odds, humanity's spirit was indomitable. As the first rays of dawn broke over a rebuilding Earth, a new resolve took hold. The Torvalis would return, of that there was no doubt. But humanity was ready. The Erebus had been the first, but it would not be the last. What had begun as a desperate struggle had become a declaration. Earth would not bow. Humanity had taken its first step into the stars, not as victims, but as warriors. And they would not go quietly.